Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Let's see how the tropics are doing in the Western Pacific. So we have two areas of investigation now, both at high chance of development. And this says tropical cyclone development likely within 24 hours. So yeah, so both at high chance of development. That one in the South China Sea is probably going to be weak, but I'm more concerned about the second one there. So let's take a look at what will happen here and let's see. So this is a possible track it might take, so this is not certain yet, this will change a lot, but it's a possible track, and they say this might become a category 1 typhoon and hit like the South Islands of Japan there. And then there's this other one that will likely just be a tropical storm or depression going to southern China there. So let's see here what they have on this. So current storms. So this is investing 91L in the South China Sea. There's a lot of convection associated. The low pressure is just off the Philippines there on the South China Sea. And let's see, the tracks take it into southern China, southeastern China there. Some tracks take it towards Taiwan later, but the general guidance is like towards southeastern China, maybe shifting a little bit east. There's these tracks here towards southeastern China, then there's this other one that takes it north later, and then yeah, generally towards southeastern China there. So we'll check the rainfall total soon, but sure a lot of heavy rain for them. Let's see, this is invest 92W now, so a lot of convection on the north side too. It's on the Philippine Sea, I think, or in those areas there, the center of low pressure. And then the forecast tracks here take it towards the southern islands of Japan, some to South Korea, and some take it towards China, and others take it towards Taiwan there. So it's kind of uncertain still, but some other tracks take it generally towards China, affecting the southern islands of Japan there, and South Korea. And there are these other tracks here, and I think this has the pressure too, so there are some members really going strong there with some very strong typhoons. So let's see, some take it towards Japan, but only a few. Most take it towards the Koreas and some towards China. So let's see here what might happen. So this is the latest GFS. You can see that the two areas of low pressure in the South China Sea and in the ocean there. And then let's watch both. The one in the South China Sea turns to like tropical storm or depression, most likely a storm going to southeastern China, and that one develops quickly into a tropical storm and then into a typhoon there, and then it keeps going towards the southern islands of Japan. And I still think the GFS is very exaggerating on this strength. It has like a super typhoon there, so that's like a super typhoon, so like a Cat 5 hurricane it would be. So I think don't mind this, because this model always exaggerates, so don't mind the strength, but let's see. And then it takes it towards China later, and then back behind it, it kind of had some other systems trying to form, but not really. Maybe later, by July 31st, the GFS has actually three other systems forming by July 31st and August 1st. One goes towards Taiwan, another one goes towards Japan and joins with that other one. So this model is really going insane, but we might have more stuff after these systems here. So this is the European model, a little bit better. Let's see, the system, the South China Sea there, goes into like a tropical storm or depression, like very weak, maybe a weak tropical storm or depression, and this one starts developing there into a tropical storm. And let's put the 0Z, because this one doesn't go far out. So stays at the tropical storm there, passes just north of Taiwan in the southernmost islands of Japan, has a category 1 typhoon or category 2. So let's see, and then it strengthens a little bit, like into a category 2 typhoon, and takes it into China there, and then it curves it north, maybe into the Koreas, and an extra tropical into Russia later. So the Euro is also into something there. So all models have this as a typhoon going into the southern islands of Japan and into China. So those areas who really gotta watch this and make some preparations. I know they speak Japanese and Chinese, but I hope some understand English and can share this information with others. I know only one word in Japanese, so let's see here. This is the Canadian model. It has the system in the South China Sea there, like a tropical storm, making landfall in southern China and that island there. So, and then it has this other system developing quickly, going towards the southern islands of Japan, but like only the southernmost islands there, and then passing very close to Taiwan and going like into the Koreas. So the GFS and the Euro were going to eastern China. This one is going to the Koreas. So like a tropical storm or low-end typhoon, and then it takes the rest of it into Japan and Russia with some more rain there. And let's see if it has something later. So after the system goes there, it has another system trying to develop later in the Western Pacific there. So yeah, lots of stuff to watch here. So let's see. Some rainfall here. I think it's better to see with this size because you can zoom in and see it closer. So in the next 3 days, so 24 hours is like this. Today's Saturday morning, so this is until like Sunday morning. So let's see. So in the next 3 days, like until Monday or Tuesday, they have somewhere in the Philippines, but not much because the system will be offshore there. But some areas like 60 millimeters in the Philippines in the next 5 days. No, 3 days, sorry, the next 3 days. Mainly in the western Philippines there, some 80 millimeters in some areas. And further south, a little bit better, around just 20 millimeters, 30 millimeters and something. So nothing big for the Philippines, just some more tropical rains. And in the next 5 days, it increases for the western Philippines. So this is the Euro for the next 5 days. So just between 3 and 5 days, it increases a huge amount there in the western Philippines. So more than 170 millimeters. Some areas up to 230 millimeters in the western Philippines there. So according to this model, some really dangerous rainfall coming between 3 and 5 days for the western Philippines, more than 200 millimeters. Further south, some areas around 70 and 80 millimeters. And there's this island for the west here that gets more than 150 millimeters in the next 5 days in some areas there. So let's see. But be aware around these areas here, especially Manila. I can't find it here. I don't know why. It must have a different name in Philippines, but it's in this western area of the Philippines. So be careful. 200 millimeters, yeah. So let's see the other model here, the GFS. So let's see next 3 days. Next 3 days is quite fine, around 97 millimeters and 80 millimeters, 77 millimeters. In the eastern Philippines, around 97 in some areas. The southern Philippines quite fine, around 8 millimeters, 9, 18 millimeters. Just some western portions like 30 and 46 millimeters, but it's mainly these western areas here. But when you go there to 5 days, look what the GFS has more than 164 millimeters in parts of the western Philippines, but basically all of the northern Philippines here has more than 294 millimeters, 283 millimeters, 271, and especially these areas here like Santol, Tagudin, these areas here, can get more than 400 millimeters according to the GFS. So this is the model that exaggerates a lot, especially with the cyclone there. So I think these rainfall amounts are a little bit exaggerated. I will go more with the euro here, around 200 millimeters in those areas. But anyway, you never know. So this model has more than 400 millimeters between the next 3 and 5 days there. So please be careful in the Western Philippines. So if today's Saturday morning, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so this will be like the worst between Wednesday and Thursday of next week, if I'm right. So we can see this rainfall map here. So Friday, Saturday, some rain in the northern Philippines and some showers from the typhoon that will be nearby. And then by next Sunday, already some rain in the western Philippines. But look at next Monday. By next Monday, this model already has a lot of heavy rain there. And then it continues, especially like next Tuesday, some tremendous heavy rain in parts of the western Philippines. And then, yeah, so this model has the worst between Monday and Tuesday there, especially Tuesday. So let's see the European model. So let's see here. It has the storm forming there, lots of tropical showers, but then by Monday already some heavy rains in the western Philippines. By Tuesday more, they continue into Wednesday. So this is already Wednesday that they continue there. So let's see. And then Thursday it diminishes a little bit. So correcting what I said before, the worst of the rain there will be between Monday and Wednesday in the northwestern Philippines. So let's see some other areas. So let's see. Next 5 days, this system will still be offshore, but the Euro from the next 10 days, when this system hits the southern islands of Japan, the Euro has more than 300 millimeters in those southern islands of Japan from this typhoon there. So that's some tremendous rainfall. So around these areas, 261 millimeters, 300 millimeters. So some tremendous rain coming with this typhoon. In Taiwan, around 196 millimeters, 178, depending on the area. So the next 5 days is quite fine in Taiwan, just some 43 millimeters. But when the typhoon passes to the north, this will increase a lot. And then when the typhoon hits China there, about later next week, the Euro has more than 400 millimeters in some areas of China there. 420 millimeters, 266 millimeters. So Shanghai, around 200 millimeters. So some pretty dangerous rainfall. And then as this typhoon tracks further north later, when it dies off, it has more than 300 millimeters in other parts of northern China, around Haiyang, more than 300 millimeters, going to North Korea, more than 233 millimeters, 196, 294, North and South Korea, we will get more than 100, and even some areas of the south, more than 100 millimeters. So this in the next 10 days. Then these areas of northern China get more than 100 millimeters from the remnants of the typhoon, southern Russia too. And that was 10 days. Let's just see 5 days here. So even before this typhoon passes by, there'll already be more than 100 millimeters in those areas of China there, 189, 177. So even before this typhoon comes, just the storms there'll be more than 100 millimeters. So when it passes, you add more. So let's see. North Korea in the next 5 days, some areas more than 100 millimeters. So let's see Japan in the next 5 days. So the Euro has more rain in parts of northwestern Japan, near Akita and some other areas. So more than 100 millimeters the Euro has. Let's see, Tokyo shows very few, more rain to the west, around 17, 23, 52 millimeters. As southern Japan is fine too, just a storm or two and some showers. But in the next 10 days, it increases a lot. So what I showed you was 5 days. This is now 10 days. There's more than 200 millimeters for some areas of central Japan between the next 5 and 10 days. Especially this area of southern Japan here, more than 143 millimeters. So let's see now the GFS here. So in the next 3 days, the system starts forming. Let's see, next 5 days, the typhoon is almost to the southern islands of Japan. So only the next 5 days, the GFS already has 154 millimeters in those southern islands there. In Taiwan, the GFS is around 4 millimeters, 30 in many areas, but nothing big. And then in the next 10 days, as the system crosses into China, the GFS, like out in the open ocean, has more than 500 millimeters, but luckily in the islands there will be a little bit less, around 470 millimeters, 478 millimeters. So both the Euro and the GFS have more than 400 millimeters in some of those areas. So please make preparations in those islands there for this typhoon. More than 196 for the north. These other islands for the north, 189 millimeters. Yakushima, around 179. Southern Japan, around 200 in some areas. So let's see. And the GFS is kind of another system coming north here, approaching central Japan around 168 millimeters in the next 10 days. It has less for northwestern Japan, like the Euro had, but some areas like 57 millimeters, and like northernmost Japan has 91 millimeters in some areas. And for China, as the system goes into China, it has more than 200 millimeters. The Euro had 400. So let's see, Shanghai, it has around, let's see, 166 millimeters. So further inland here, further north, around 200 millimeters. Those areas 200. North Korea more than 100, and a little bit less in South Korea, but more in some areas. So let's see now if we have any other model here. There's the icon here. The icon only goes out to 5 days, so no 10 days here, but already in the next 5 days, the icon has tremendous amounts of rainfall in parts of the northern islands of the Philippines. So more than 700 millimeters in the next 5 days in those islands there. I think the icon also is kind of exaggerating because it happens sometimes. So don't take this very serious, but please be aware. The icon is a good model, but I heard of it exaggerating sometimes, but this is crazy. So I think the icon has the typhoon forming there, and the typhoon passing just north of the Philippines there, and going maybe north later. But it has more than 800 millimeters of rain in those islands in the next 5 days. So that's crazy. Those islands just north of the Philippines. So that's pretty tremendous rainfall. It has 400 in the northern island of the Philippines. It has more than 200 along the west coast of the Philippines, around 300 in some areas. Further north, 300 in some areas there. Some areas of the south, around 100. Yeah, so very crazy. So let's compare this from 3 days. 3 days it shows already 200, and 5 days 700. So that's pretty crazy. So let's see if it has something. Yeah, so this is mainly it. So let's see here. What else? There's this other model for Japan, but it only goes out to 3 days. I think it's higher resolution. The next 3 days it has some rain for parts of southern Japan, northwestern Japan, just like the Euro, the next 3 days. So yeah, be aware. So let's see what else here. So wait, here, good. So in terms of the tropics, this is it. I think if you are in those areas, please monitor these systems, including southern China because of the tropical storm, and the southern islands of Japan and China there. Please monitor these systems. So let's just see something here. In the next 5 days. So in the next 5 days from this tropical storm in southern China, the Euro has around 121 millimeters, some areas here around 44 millimeters. So the Euro is quite weak on this, but let's see what the GFS has. The GFS has more, around 150 millimeters for this tropical storm around southern China. Yeah, so be aware. So let's see Southeast Asia now. So in the next 3 days, the Euro has a lot of more heavy rain for northeastern Cambodia, around 143 millimeters. Some areas of Vietnam there, it has more than 122 millimeters. Some areas there were 121 millimeters. Further north into Laos, we have more than 100 millimeters, but only some areas. But let's see here, southernmost Thailand there, it has more than 138 millimeters in parts of southern Thailand. Let's see. Malaysia is quite fine on the next 3 days. Very few rain. And the next 5 days, even more in parts of northern Cambodia. So 184 millimeters. Some areas 192 millimeters. So be aware there in parts of central western Vietnam and northeastern Cambodia and southern Laos there. So more heavy rain. So further north into Laos and northeastern Thailand, more than 185 millimeters. It has 176 millimeters. Southern Thailand there, more than 163 millimeters. Southern Myanmar here, 155, 160 millimeters, 170. Further north into Myanmar, 200 millimeters in some areas there. So please be careful. So that was the Euro. Let's see the GFS in the next 5 days. The GFS has a little bit more, just around 50-60 millimeters, but some areas in Laos there, it has more than 133 millimeters. So be aware there. Southern Thailand, it has a little bit less, but still rain. Let's see. In Myanmar there has around 150 millimeters, a little bit less than the Euro. Some areas 70, 62 millimeters, 94 millimeters. So let's see, but the GFS has this area in Myanmar, more than 300 millimeters in those areas there. Further inland into Myanmar, 160, 133 millimeters it has, and along the coast, 100, 200, 300 millimeters in those areas there. So that was the GFS. Let's see the Euro. The Euro has less for central Myanmar, but it has more along the coast, more than 200, 300 millimeters along the coast of Myanmar there. And northern Myanmar too, it has a lot. So let's see, 200, 198, especially those northern areas has more than 400 in some pink areas there. So yeah, this is the Euro. And then the GFS has less for northern Myanmar. So only the Euro showing that much. So let's see for India here. There's more than 290 millimeters for these areas of central eastern India, especially central India in the next 5 days. So it has more than 400 millimeters, 400, 159, let's see, 300, 198, 100, 200, so more than 300 millimeters. So a lot of storms and heavy rain coming for those areas of India the next 5 days. So next 3 days, already some heavy rains, and then the next 5 days even more storms. And in the west coast of India, it has more than 200 millimeters throughout the coast there, and in some areas near the coast. So especially some of these areas here, like this line of more than 300 millimeters along the coast. Yeah, so let's see. Parts of Western India, more than 100, 200 millimeters. But southwestern India is a little bit better here. But still a little bit in southern Sri Lanka, but not much. Northern India has a hotspot too, about 200 millimeters in some areas. Let's see, 154. Nepal, around western Nepal, a little bit more. Central Nepal, and northeastern India here, it has more. So 125, 119, so more than 100 millimeters throughout northeastern India there. So it shows a lot, more than 132 millimeters. Near Myanmar, 158. So, and there's this area in southern China, I think, or northeastern India, more than 300 millimeters. So, yeah, be aware. In these areas of south central China here, more than 200 millimeters from the storms. So, more areas of China there. Let's see, 54 millimeters, 40 millimeters, yeah. So be careful with the storms. Let's see the GFS. The GFS also has the heavy rains in western India, more than 200 millimeters and 100 along the coast, and the storms in central India there the next 5 days. So more than 100 millimeters. So be aware there in India too. And I know we were talking about Asia, but let's just say that in Africa there will be some heavy rain too, around Ethiopia, more than 100 millimeters by the GFS. In the Euro has like 90, 70 and 80 millimeters the next 5 days in Ethiopia. So let's see what else we got. These areas of southern Russia, more than 100 millimeters in some areas. Southern Russia, more rain in Mongolia, especially northern Mongolia and eastern Mongolia. Not much in southern Mongolia, but be aware those areas in Russia, some more areas in Russia there, more rain, and then through eastern Russia there because of the remnants of these systems and more stuff. So let's see here this rainfall map. So I'll show you many areas, the storms in China and those storms in central India, showing a lot of storms continuing in central India there. So lots of heavy rain, hail, some flash flooding possible. Be careful there. Through western India, the monsoon, the rains in Laos, Southeast Asia there, Myanmar. Then we keep going to next week. More storms throughout India, Nepal, more storms in central China, it's showing. Let's see, in Myanmar, Thailand, more heavy rain. And let's see in Russia there. It shows those storms in southern Russia and Mongolia. And more storms keep going there. Into northern Japan, southeastern Russia also shows some storms. And let's see here. Just 1 second, let's see. So this is mainly it for the rainfall. Let's see if we have any catastrophic temperatures or not, because I think last week we hit more than 50 degrees in parts of the Middle East, and it's still very much like that. Not 50, but around 48, 49 degrees in the Middle East during the hottest part of the day. So the people there are probably used to it, but continuing being careful, please. Those are some very dangerous temperatures. 46, high into the 40s in Saudi Arabia, United Emirates. Dubai is a little bit more, a little bit less, around 36 degrees in Dubai. So, but the interior areas there are a lot hotter. So be careful with this heat in parts of Iran too, into the 40s, very hot. Let's see, 40s in parts of Afghanistan, Pakistan, some areas in the 30s, but there can be an area or two in the 40s, but it's generally cooler in Pakistan. And northeastern India, 41 in some areas, 42. Yeah, let's see if there will be any major changes. So hot in parts of East Asia too, in the 30s, but no major changes. Maybe a little bit hotter in Pakistan by next Tuesday, around 45 in some areas, but no major changes. Let's see. And also very hot in some of these areas of Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, in the 30s and 40s. And let's see here, some wind gusts. So of course, with those systems there will be very strong winds, but once the cyclones get going, we have more information on the wind speed. So let's see, some gusty winds in parts of India, the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal. Let's see, occasionally in Mongolia and China around Monday, some stronger winds there. In parts of Russia, from those systems too, and other areas. So, and usually when there's more wind, there are more waves too, like in the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and with the systems there. So stay safe, start making preparations for those systems, be careful with the heavy rain, and bye.